Welcome back to Superhero Entertainments. This is lesson 8.2, The Ridiculousness of Superheroes, and the last lesson for the course. By the end of this lesson, you should have a good understanding of how easy it is to poke fun at superheroes. Here, for instance, is a small list of comic books, novels, animated cartoons, and films that do just that. Duper Man, Howard the Duck, Robert Mayer's Super Folks, The Incredibles, Sky High, Drawn Together, Mystery Men, Max Landis's documentary or rant, Death of Superman, and Megamind. Duper Man. This story, published in Mad in May 1953, poked fun at Superman and the original Captain Marvel. The story makes fun of the love triangle between Clark Kent, Superman, and Lois Lane, but refreshingly, the humour is not at Lois's expense. It also makes fun of Superman's use of phone booths to change his costume. This mad story is at the one end of the spectrum. It's rather light-hearted. A more telling satire, rich in both sarcasm and a deep knowledge of comics, is Max Landis's rant on Superman. Max Landis, The Death of Superman. First, a warning. This is suitable for adult audiences and contains much swearing. You can find it, if you really want to, by doing a search for Max Landis's The Death of Superman. This YouTube video, with high production values and cheesy special effects, rips into both the story, The Death of Superman, and the commercial forces driving such stories. In many ways, what Landis does is what fans have done for many years. He is criticizing the inconsistency in stories. If you look back at the letters in various superhero comic books over many years, so much of the comment is about the problems with the stories and their capacity to make the reader suspend disbelief. Too many stories lack that capacity. And Landis's point is that if you read The Death of Superman, you really should be wondering about suspending disbelief, because the story is a little unbelievable, even for a superhero comic book. Megamind. Other forms of satire, like Megamind, work by taking the essential characteristics of the superhero and supervillain and exaggerating those characteristics to the level of absurdity. But sometimes we've had enough of this. One of the criticisms of Megamind was that we'd seen it all before, this kind of satire about superheroes, this exaggeration, and it was just simply more of the same, repeating familiar themes. And indeed, we might feel the same way about comic books and about superhero films. Many of them seem to be a bit repetitive, with similar film themes of people being punched through whole buildings. How many times have you seen that in a movie? Let's think about this. Comic book superheroes started in comic books. There was a comic element to them because they had evolved from comic strips which were meant to be funny. This comedy element has often disappeared, with comic book superheroes assuming an overarching seriousness, and several of the recent superhero entertainments on film have had far too much seriousness. Nonetheless, this comedy element still crops up from time to time. Think of the banter in the Avengers movies between the various superheroes with an array of powers. That banter, to me, is far more interesting than the action scenes with one person smashing another person or punching another person through a building. Most of the time, to me, those action scenes just look like a computer game or some such. Very sophisticated one. It costs millions and millions of dollars, but not doing much for me in terms of entertaining me. In the first Avengers movie, one of the great moments was when the Hulk smashes Loki and says, "Bah, puny god." The humour there was what made it funny, what made the film memorable. How much do you remember of that first Avengers movie? What scenes do you remember? Often I would suggest they're probably the banter. And here's a key point. Without the humour, superhero entertainments are often not that entertaining. This lesson has one key point. At this point, I want to thank you, those of you who followed through all the lessons and made it to this very last lesson. For those of you who are like my sister, who always goes to the back of the book to read the ending to see if she might enjoy reading the book because she enjoys the ending, welcome to the end of the course. I hope you will take the time to go back and look through the various video lessons and do some of the readings, if not all of the readings. At this stage, let me say, you really do need to do the readings to get the most out of this course, to turn this course into something other than simply a broad sweep through some superhero entertainments. What I've been trying to do in these lectures on video is to give you a set of concepts to think about, to use, to disagree with, to agree with, so that when you approach the readings, you have some things in mind to think about, so that you can then develop your own thinking, your own take, your own understanding of superhero entertainments and their development. Thank you very much for joining me for this course. Good luck with the rest of your work for the course, and good luck in general. I hope that the forthcoming superhero movies are fun and enjoyable for you. I'm looking forward to seeing some of them, despite my misgivings about some of them. Thank you and goodbye.